Hey, everybody, welcome to Conversations with T, where we are going to have conversations, some conversations hard, some conversations not, but conversations that we all need to have. So this week, I wanted to kind of piggyback over off of my last live with Claire and Kristen, where we talked about the foster care experience and our experience in the foster care experience. And all three of us experienced some sort of trauma in that that time frame that we were all in the system. And so I wanted to talk about how I personally got through my trauma. I'm human, so it wasn't always the best, and I didn't necessarily know what I know now. And I also wanted to review an article that I came across um, in on verywellmind.com, which is a good resource for people who want mental health help, but can't afford maybe therapy or don't know where to start. And it is also talking about 10 ways to heal. So we'll go over that as well. Um, I would say so. There was a lot of trauma in my foster care experience that I didn't even mention. We just kind of scraped the top of the iceberg when it came to all of our experiences in the foster care system in Kansas. But the main one that I was able to share was abuse in one of my foster care homes. And so I'll start by saying that I was a child. I was like 9 or 10 at that time. And so when it came to trying to heal for that, I wasn't able to do it immediately. And I wasn't able to do it really as a child because obviously you're only given the resources that you're provided when you're in that system. And so a lot of my healing came from adulthood. And so initially, how I responded when I was finally moved from that home, a lot of times when I was placed in situations that I didn't know how to handle, I didn't know how to emotionally respond to, I tend to have been aggressive. I responded aggressively. I would say that that was probably the most I've ever fought in my life, literally and figuratively. But at some point, I realized that that wasn't the type of person that I wanted to be, and that wasn't the type of person that I ever was. And I think that's important to say because I think when people look at their therapists and they look at like the social workers that are in whatever field that you come across a person in a helping profession, they don't really take into account that we're human and we had a past as well. Whatever that past looked like, we all had a past. And um, I was able to, when I got a little bit older, join things like sports. I tried out, when I went to high school, um, I was put in a few situations that I was like, you know what, I don't want to be in these situations where I'm always fighting with someone. And so I asked my mom to move me to a school that I knew no one at. um, and it was a good move for me. I tried out for a lot of different sports, wasn't good at most of them, but I tried out for almost anything that I could to get myself active and get to meet people. Um, and I stuck with tennis, and that was kind of the beginning of choosing my life for me. And Then going forward, after I moved schools, I was successful in my education, passed all my classes. Can't say that for the first year of high school. Um, but going after I made the change that I needed to be successful, um, I was able to be successful in education, and I started working and things like that. So most of my process of healing came from doing something else, um, like meeting new meeting new people and getting a support system that I created myself. Because even at that time, if I want to be 100% honest, I wasn't always, um, I didn't always have the support system that you would think you would have as, a high schooler. Um, our school counselors weren't that supportive. It was kind of like they came to work and got done with their day and went about their business. Um, so I was able to create what I needed in that time through getting a job and then applying myself to, or applying to college, deciding that I wanted to go to college. Initially, I wanted to go to college for journalism. That kind of changed real quick. I always say social work chose me. I did not choose social work, even with my history. And they always say that the people who choose fields like social work, nursing, counseling, all those helping fields, doctors, it's always because they were in a position where they needed help at one point in time. Um, but I did not want to do that. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to write, and that is what I wanted to do. But, I don't regret at the end of the day going into social work because I always, I do always want to be a source of someone, be a resource for someone, because what I have to give is vast, and I know that I can help someone change their life. And so, um, after that, I do say that if I was to have gone back now, I probably would have done counseling. I have done counseling in my childhood before, um, but not when probably I needed it the most. Um, Back when I mentioned in our last episode that, the foster care system in Kansas was privatized, and a lot of things changed with that. And so, um, before that, I was in counseling, but a lot of things got cut when it came to, saving money to the foster care system that I noticed even as a child. Um, so I was reading this article this week, and it's called 10 Ways to Heal for Trauma. And I wanted to review that because I think that these are all ways that I would tell my clients, but it's just structured a little bit probably better than I would probably address my clients, because when I talk to my clients in particular, I want them to have a safe space. And so a lot of times it's not a textbook way that I talk to my clients. I want them to feel like, they can tell me anything. And so these don't necessarily come out uniformed, is how I'm going to put it. So, and when we talk about trauma, let's just start there. It it's regarding a negative event that's happened in your life. Some people respond to trauma differently. Some people, experience anxiety. Some people experience depression. Some people, um, isolate. Like there's a lot of different responses to trauma, and some people don't respond at all. And you're like, well, how are you just moving about your day when something traumatic just happened? And that's just the way that their brains were built. Some people are different. And so, with this article, the first thing that they mention is to accept support. And, I'm actually going to combine some of theirs because that can mean a lot of things. Um, so, their first three is actually accept support, find the right help, and connect with others. Um, and so, accepting support would be like, for example, when your friends notice that you're down and they want to maybe take you out, accept that. You know, they don't necessarily know what's going on all the time, and it's be true that they don't need to know. But allow them to be there for you. Allow them to be on the journey of healing with you. Um, and you never know, some of those friends could have been through the exact same things you are. It could be, a connecting point with you and your friends. And so, also, when it comes to like your family, don't push your family away or push your family away because you're going through things. Accept that support from them, whatever that looks like. Of course, if it's negative, you have to have your boundaries. Boundaries are so important when it comes to the process of healing, regardless of what the event was, because if you don't have boundaries, of course, people can take advantage of you as well. So sometimes you have to recognize the difference between someone actually trying to support you and someone who's trying to take advantage of you. And there is a difference. And I know somebody will probably say, well, how do you know the difference? I would say that you know the difference because you know how they treated you in the past. Like, were they there for you in the past? Did they just take from you in the past? Like, how do they treat you on a regular basis? Take that into account at all costs. Um, Finding the right help. So, like I said, if I could go back, I probably would seek therapy as well. And some people can't do it alone. And that's okay. And that's okay to recognize that this is something that I probably can't do alone. And so, if it's trauma related, maybe making sure that your therapist is trauma informed. That's not saying that someone who isn't trauma informed can't help you, though. But if it is something like maybe abuse or something like that, making sure that your therapist is client centered and trauma informed is important because they know how to support you in that healing process. Or if you don't want to do one-on-one, because I know that a lot of people have an issue with trust and thinking that the therapist maybe is going to tell you something you already know, which may be true. Let's be honest, a lot of times when you go to therapy for somebody to tell you exactly what you already know. It's just it's a accountability thing. So, but not all the and sometimes there's a lot of things that therapists are going to tell you that you didn't know. So you can learn something out of it too. But let's just say you're one of those people though. Then look into getting into a trauma informed support group. There's a lot of support groups available with people who've been through similar things, who's been through different things that can help you get through your process so you know that you're not alone in it. And then connecting with others, that kind of goes back to getting into groups, getting to know people who's in similar situations with you. We're in a time now where Facebook is prominent, TikTok is prominent, Instagram, and there's a lot of different people on all of those platforms who are going through similar things that can help you in your process. The next thing is physical movement. Get active in something, whether it's going to the gym. I know that is a hard thing to do. Like, just getting there is hard, But it doesn't necessarily have to be the gym. It can be going on bike rides, taking a walk, you know, doing the hip hop steps classes, dancing. Do something to move your body because, as we know, the physical movement is very important in it boosting your endorphins to get past depression. And I say that lightly because that's only one part of helping you through that journey. And then another thing that you can do is, really sit with your feelings. Like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad about something, but actually sit with yourself, work through your feelings. What is it that you feel? Why do you feel this way? You know, what is the trigger in the situation to make you feel this way? If you're angry, sad, you know, whatever your feeling is. And a good way to do that is to journal. Journal all those things. Like, what is it about this particular situation that makes me angry? Because what we do know is that a lot of times your anger and everything else is based on something else. It's never really the surface thing that happened to trigger an emotional response. And so maybe just writing down. I know a lot of people are like, oh, journaling, that's just another thing to do. Well, yeah, it is. But remember that all of these things are for you. And so it's important to just sit there and understand what's going on and then accept it. Accept it. Accept that it's okay. But what we don't want to do in that process as well is to hurt other people. So acknowledge that you're going through something and communicate that to the people that's around you. Um, and I'm just going through these. They don't have numbers, y'all. So, but I agree with all of them. The next thing is to practice self care. So, of course, self care is a very large statement because that means different things to everybody. For me, I love to hang out with my friends. I love to go out to eat with my friends and just have that one on one time, that quality time with my friends. Get our nails done. You know, I like to play in makeup. But, there's also things like taking time to just relax, breathe, watch your TV shows. I love me some reality TV. Whatever makes you feel good and, get you back to loving on yourself. That's the main goal of self care. Doing acts that are simple and put you in a space that makes you feel good about yourself. Um, And with that, like I said, take breaks. Sometimes you get a feeling of overwhelmness, and being overwhelmed is normal. Um, but I think that it's important to prioritize what you have going on and take a break. Understand that, you know, it is draining to do this work. It is draining to move to the next level. It's not going to happen overnight, but sometimes you just need to take a break and take a nap. Naps are good. Don't avoid, though. It's so important to not avoid what's going on because at the end of the day, it's not going to go away on its own. It's not going to go away at all, but it's not going to go away on its own. It's going to take energy and time to heal yourself. But you don't want to get burned out either because at the same time, there's always going to be other responsibilities, but you have to make sure that within yourself, you're taking care of yourself. Um, and with that on the line, taking care of yourself, try your best to avoid substances because they don't do anything but put a band aid over what's going on. Okay. So, drinking to avoid situations, you know, doing anything else, other substances to avoid situations, they don't help you work through what you're actually feeling emotionally. So I encourage you to take your time and do something else that's more productive than those situations, than, substances to heal yourself. Now, I'm not saying, don't hang out with your friends, don't have a drink with your friends. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't go get drunk because you're upset. um, so, one of the other things that they mentioned here is to engage in your creativity. Now, what they are referring to on this is being tr- being in your imagination. So you can do that by reading books if you like to read books. You can do that with writing poetry. You can do that with, um, you know, your journaling that we mentioned earlier. You can do that with art therapy, like go to the paint and sips, lay off like little, like I just said, don't be drinking. But paint and sips is a good way to get your creativity out. Um, it's very therapeutic to put your mind at ease and do something creative. So that's a great way to heal yourself as well. So if y'all have, I'm not gonna make this a long uh, live, but if y'all have different ways that you help move past trauma or how you're making it through it now, feel free to let us know in the comments because I think that everyone heals different. Um, I will say now, one of my big ways of getting through any kind of down time or like, I will say healing is a ongoing process. And I think that's important to mention too. Like I said earlier, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's an ongoing process because what we know is once something happens, once you have a thought in your mind, especially at a young age, it's so hard to reparent yourself into going the opposite way of something, of believing something else. And so this is an ongoing process. But one thing that I use now is music. That is a very good way to help you get through different things as well. So let us know what you guys like to do in the comments, and we will chat there. Thank you so much for joining and listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.